somebody mentioned on a video that they would like to get into knife making, but they don't want to spend the money and find out that they don't like knife making. And I understand that because I went through the same thing. So this video is going to show you what I did to get into knife making without spending a lot of money. The very first thing is the steel. You can buy knife making steel, which that's what this is, that all you need to do is, let's just pick one here. Here's the sharp finger. You trace this out on your steel and you cut out what doesn't look like a knife, basically. You cut everything away with what I use. I guess I'm gonna have to stand. What I use is this. But this is combined about $400 worth of saw and table. But you don't need that. You can use an angle grinder with a cutting disc and it works just as good. And then you would need to heat treat it and temper it. I'm going to show you, as a matter of fact, in the description, I'm going to leave links to some steel. I got this sitting outside here. All right, this forge I made myself. Now here's my high dollar expensive forge that I just bought recently. And here is the forge that I made. And the only money I have in it is plaster of Paris and play sand. It's like a 50-50 mix. And I have a video, I'll leave the link in the description below, of me building this. So I'm into this maybe 10 or 15 bucks, 20 bucks. And then to heat the forge, I have these two Burns-O-Matic. These are TS 8000s. They're kind of expensive, but they make a TS 4000. I got one on each side here. And then you take your, somebody gave me these, which worked fine. But recently I bought a pair of tongs made for knife making, but I'm going to use these just for now. Then you need some quenching oil. And what I use is that, canola oil. And the way you determine whether you've reached the proper heat treating temperature is you take a magnet and you touch it to the side of your knife when it reaches a cherry red, and when it reaches the non-magnetic state, that's when it's achieved the right temperature to dunk in your oil. So now we're into this: the cost of the steel, the price of 2 torches, 10-15 bucks for the plaster of Paris. What this is a Freon can on the outside, and the mold I used for the inside was a brake fluid can, empty of course. And then you would need an angle grinder and a couple of files and some sandpaper. Let me get this thing cranked up. I'm going to go ahead and heat treat that dinner skinner right now. All right, I gotta let this forge warm up a little bit. And the first thing I'm going to put in there is this metal threaded rod, and what that is for is to heat my oil up a little bit, because you don't want to dump you don't want to quench a knife in oil that's room temperature. You want to bring it up to 140 or so. And keep in mind that everything I say is stuff that I've learned myself, and I may be off on the degrees a little bit. There might be better ways of doing things. I found out that when I asked knife makers, if I asked 10 knife makers, I would get 10 different completely opposite answers. So I gathered all the information I could and just took the leap and learned how to make knives using the stock removal method. I don't have an anvil and I don't hammer out my own steel. I would like to, but my shoulders, I have arthritis, and there's just no way I could beat on metal. Plus I have some other issues that would keep me from doing that. Okay, I got my knife in there, heating up. When it gets, I'm going to let the temperature of the knife come up pretty good, and then I'm going to take the tongs and move that knife around so it all gets the same color in there. Let's just see what the temperature is. That's pretty perfect. It's still magnetic. I gotta bring it up higher, hotter. All right, we are non-magnetic. I'm gonna hold it at that temperature for about 30 seconds, 40 seconds. And you want to swish it around because this thing makes air bubbles if you leave it in one spot. All right, let me get this cooled down. I got to shut my torches off. All right, here's the knife. I've cleaned the oil off of it, and now you want to take a file to be sure you've attained the hardness. And the way you tell is if this file digs into the metal, it's not hard enough. If it skates across it like what it's doing, you've achieved the right hardness. And now the next stage. Now you want to temper it. Right now it is super hard, but it's also somewhat brittle. And tempering it takes the brittleness out of it. Now I've heated this up to 450. And what I'm going to do is lay that knife in there for 2 1-hour sessions. Sorry, I'm gonna have to set this. Something's got to go. Just a second. All right, I've got this in the oven. I'm gonna set this for 1 hour at 450, and when it goes off, I'm gonna let it cool completely and give it another hour at 450. In the meantime, what I usually do, I didn't do it this time, but normally what I do is find the wood I want, which I've already got, and get it shaped and get it drilled, and you can be doing stuff while it's tempering. So this is my wood that I've already got drilled, already shaped the nose, and that's another little tip. Before you glue your handles on, you want to shape the nose, because once you glue this on, you'll mess up the blade, the finish on the blade, trying to get this sanded smooth. So sand the nose smooth first. This is 2 halves here. It's hard to do with one hand, see? Okay, let me see. When this comes out of temper, I'll show you the next couple of steps. There's the first 1 hour tempering. And now the second 1 hour tempering. Well, there you have it. I'm not gonna assemble the knife. I have a lot of videos of knives that I've assembled. There's just 2. And these are the handles for that. What you would do next is take your sandpaper and sand all this schmutz off of it. I use a backer on my sandpaper. Put the sandpaper around it and then rub this back and forth on the blade. I put the blade in here, and this is a knife vise made specifically for working on knives, but you can also use something like this. I got that at Harbor Freight. You would just need to put, wrap a piece of leather around your blade so the jaws don't scar the blade. But there you go, cheap, easy way of getting into knife making. And then for knife handles, you don't have to have special wood. You do want a hardwood. So I have collected bits and pieces of hardwood. Friends have sent me wood. I have up there, I have some teak that my friend Murray Mayhem Country Living sent me. I have some walnut down here, scraps that people have given me, ends of boards, and then I cut them on my bandsaw. You don't have to have a drill press. It sure makes things easier if you do. You can use a drill, but you'd have to hold a square up against the drill bit to make sure you were drilling through the handles square, or else the pins will go in crooked. But anyway, there you go. You don't have to spend a lot of money to test the waters of knife making. And if you have any questions, you can either contact me at vctruck@gmail.com or just leave a comment below. I'm going to leave a link in the show more section below the video of pins, knives, not knives, steel, knife making steel, whatever I can think of that would help a knife maker get started. Thanks for watching, y'all. And then you get a 20% off coupon. You can get this thing for $42.99. Hey, if somebody wants this and they're willing to come to Wascom, Texas to pick it up, I'd give this away. Really, I'm only into it like 20 bucks if that. I'm not going to give the torches away. You're going to have to buy them. But I have no more need for this. And I don't know what to do with it, to tell you the truth. I don't think I'll ever use it again. So if you want to get into knife making and you don't feel like making a forge, this will get you started.